Welcome to the Renaissance Achiever with Sarah Fui. Today we have special guest Erin Renninger. Erin is an entrepreneur, coach, devoted wife, and mother with a background as a hairstylist and salon owner. Erin has seamlessly transitioned into a new chapter of her life where she excels as a top-rated podcast host, unapologetic mindset coach, motivational speaker, retreat creator, event host, and health and wellness advocate. Hi, Erin. Thank you so much for being here today.
Hi, Sarah. I'm so excited to be here with you today.
Yes. And this is actually my very first guest interview on my podcast. So I'm
Ah,
super excited to
I
have
didn't
you
know
here.
that. That is
And
exciting.
yes, it's a big deal. Last month, I was like, okay, it's time to get this podcast going. I need to start interviewing people. And you actually came to mind one day when I was walking and I was thinking, who can I invite to this podcast? And I was like, I know so many amazing people, but and I was like, Erin would be great to have as one of my first people because of your story, and I don't really know you that well one on one. So Erin and I are in a mastermind together with our coach Brooke Hemingway, and that's how we know each other. But we haven't had a lot of one on one time together. But you came to my mind. I thought Erin would be a great person to have as maybe my first guest as I'm trying to map out how to do this. So I'm so honored to have you here, and I really admire you because you are doing all the things that I am working on trying to do, aspiring to do. So the hosting events and planning retreats and speaking, but you weren't always doing that. And so I would love to hear your story of how you started out as a hairstylist and how you transitioned into what you're doing right now.
Okay. So I'm so excited to dive into this. And yes, and this was absolutely divine timing because like Sarah said, we hadn't really met in person. We've been in the same coaching group, but we hadn't been together, right, yet
Mhm.
until what, just a couple weeks ago we finally got, or was it just last week? I lose
It
track
was
of
just
time.
last
Anyways,
week.
yes, we got to meet together and we went to have lunch. We went to a conference together. So it was so great to dive into just to get to know each other on one, a little bit better. And that's when you asked me and I'm like, heck yeah, I'll gladly do it. I love podcasting. So to back that up, that's so exciting that we finally got to meet in real life. There's so
I
many friends
know.
that we meet
I
online,
didn't
but
realize
and coach together. But
that was our first time
yeah.
in person. I was like, "You're right. It was just last week, so it is divine timing." I was like, "I feel like I've known who you
Yes.
are from a distance for a while," but yeah.
No, I think I was aware of you in January at Brooks Align event is where I saw you. Did you or did you not sing at a VIP luncheon?
I did. I sang at the VIP dinner. I sang a
See?
song, and that was me.
That was beautiful, and I remember that. So,
Yeah.
Align was kind of a crazy time for me. If you know that story, I got sick and I actually ended up having to leave. But I remember that. So that was a really big impression. You are so blessed. And oh my gosh, you got to bless everyone in that audience with your beautiful voice and singing. That was absolutely amazing. So thank you for that. And that's how
Thank
I
you.
remembered you. Like when I realized that you were in the same coaching group, I'm like, oh my gosh, I think she's the lady that sang at the VIP dinner. It was dinner,
Yes.
you're right. So thank you for that. And yeah, I did the same thing for 24 years. I really did the same thing for about 21 years. I worked as a hairstylist in someone else's salon for so many years. And in 2019, I decided to dive into some personal growth and some personal development. And that's where it really kicked off. So I came home from my very first like event, we'll say. It was actually a line is what it was called by Brooke Hemingway. And I came home and I just felt like there was something more for me in my life that I wanted to
Mm.
do. And I was tired of answering to someone else and constantly having to ask for permission to do things with my life, meaning take a time off work or working my butt off and always having to prove myself to someone else. And I was just done with that. So at that time in my life, I decided that I was going to open my own salon. That was what God really put on my heart. So that's what I did. I had set the time. It was like September of 2019. I decided to open my own salon in 2020. Well, if you remember what happened in 2020, all hell broke loose, right? We'll say it that way. But anyways, salons were shut down, all of these things. It was hard to build. It was all of these things. And my vision at the time, and still was to build my own salon, meaning from the ground up, from the building and everything. Like I was not just like renting or leasing a property and doing it like that. So That's what we did. And I just put my head down and focused and said, no matter what, I was opening my salon on September 28th of 2020. So through all of the crazy things that were happening in 2020 and all of the setbacks and, trying to get inspectors in and trying to, just order things. I mean, it was crazy, but I
Oh
did
my
it.
gosh.
So that was really like my first time I can say that I truly like set the date for something really hard to happen. And no matter what, I made it happen.
That's
So I did that.
amazing. Can I
It
just speak
was.
to
It
that for a
really
little bit? Because
yes.
there is so much faith involved in doing something like that for the first time. If you had spent 21 years working for someone else and then COVID happens when you finally decide you want to go out on your own, like you had every excuse to be like, oh, this is a sign. I shouldn't do it. I should just stay in my place. Right. And like, it just speaks to how what sometimes we get this calling or this desire to do something and we're like, we got to do it. And we know this is right. And then we think it's just going to like fall into place and it doesn't. And just having to hold that trust and persevere through all the setbacks and not take it as like, oh, it means I'm not supposed to do this, but it means, no, I can make it happen anyways. I love that you persevered through that and made it happen. That's huge. That's huge. Okay,
It was
so
a
sorry,
huge time in my
continue.
life. No, that's okay. That's where I was going with that, was it was a huge time in my life where I really had to learn to trust and surrender and have faith. Like all three of those things had to come together for me to be able to do what I wanted to do. So I did just that. And then I was about 2 years deep into my salon, loving it, fully thriving. It was very successful business. It was everything I could have imagined, plus more. Like that's the other thing that's really important. It was plus more because I got to be able to get way closer to my clients. Some of my clients had been with me literally since the time I started doing hair. So I had had clients
Wow.
that had been with me for that full 20, 21, 22, 23 years, at this point going into 24 years. But I just kept feeling this pull for something more. I continued my personal growth journey. I continued learning and coaching and things like that, or getting coached, I should say. I wasn't coaching at the
Hmm.
time. And I just felt this pull that I wanted more than to make people look beautiful on the outside. Right? Like
Mm,
it really, I know, I mean, I love to do that, but it was just something that I felt there was more to it. There was more that I wanted to travel. There was more that I, just didn't want to be tied down with timing. I really wanted to set my own schedule. Now, yes, I could set my own schedule in the salon, but you were still at a lot of people's beck and call, right? Like it was
mhm.
just the idea, like these are the times. And if things needed to change, I had to move a lot of appointments, just all of these
Yeah.
things, right? We're
Yeah.
tied down with the American dream. We had the beautiful home. We built this beautiful property. I literally had goats and donkeys and I had a pet
Wow.
raccoon, like all of these things. And we
What?
had the traditional, we had the dog and we had the cat, things like that. We had three children at the time during all of this. But since 2020, moving forward, two of my daughters had then since graduated high school and decided to move out and do their thing. They went to schools, they did, living life. And we had our son who has raced motocross his entire life since he's been 4 years old. And
Wow.
we traveled a lot with that. Yes, that if you know that lifestyle at all, you travel a lot. There was a lot of times that we would be gone 3 to 4 days a week just for motocross things. That's the way my kids all grew up. So they were used to traveling in a motorhome. They were used to that kind of lifestyle. But my husband and I decided that we really wanted more, right? Like, aren't we made for more all of the time? But to
Yes.
step away from tradition can be scary, from that normal paycheck, that normal thing, the guarantee, we'll say, right? As much as
Right.
nothing's guaranteed, our jobs at the time, were pretty guaranteed with what we were going to do. So circle back for a hot second. My husband did lose his job, and I just was in this moment of surrender, like something's better for you, right? When you've done a lot
Mm,
of healing work and learned a lot about yourself and just trusting and having that faith and surrendering, everything happens for a reason. The good, the bad, the indifferent,
yes.
right? Like it happens for a reason.
And was this
And at that time,
after you started your salon, then he lost his job?
yes, so it was the
Okay.
same year. It was the
Oh
same
my
year in
gosh.
2020. So it was actually prior to opening my salon.
Oh my
So like it
gosh.
was just lots of crazy things
Yeah.
happening. Um, but I just felt this pull. So my husband and I talked about it that, like in a year or so, we said, let's sell the house. What do we do if we sell the house? If I, move on from the salon, if I get into doing something different. I have a health and wellness business, so I had that income coming in for supplements. But what if, right? Have you ever asked yourself what if? Like the audience, have you ever asked yourself what if, right? What if you totally went in on your dream? Like there's a reason why God dropped it in your pretty little mind and
Yes.
on your pretty little heart, right? Even as scary as it can be. And that's what we did. We literally trusted and surrendered, and we decided to sell our house.
Oh
And
my
we had decided that
gosh.
we were going to sell it like in like a year, right?
Right.
Well, as the winter was ending and spring was approaching, we're like, what are we waiting for? Our middle daughter was graduating in June. Like, what are we waiting for? We can take off after that. My son was all in because he knew he was going to be able to ride at different racetracks, different things. We didn't know exactly where we were going or what it was going to look like, but we knew we wanted to provide for him to be on a dirt bike year round, because living in Pennsylvania, that wasn't something that we could do unless we
Wow.
sent him away. And we had done that in the years past. We'd sent him down south in the winter for, I think it was 3 years in a row, on his own, or like we would take turns going with him and things like that. And that's just not what we wanted for our future. So in May of 2023, we decided to list our house for sale. And I set the date of selling all of our things, having a complete, like, sell literally 90% of everything that we owned inside of our home.
Wow.
I,
Total
decided on a
purge.
date that I was gonna, yes, I decided on a date that I was gonna close the salon. Decided on a date that we were gonna take off in our motorhome, right? And
Did you have a
a big,
plan of like, so you're just planning to live in your motorhome full time? And
yep,
did you have a
that was
plan
our
of like
plan.
where you were gonna go, how long you were gonna do this lifestyle?
Nope. Nope.
I
So we
love
had a
it.
little bit of a plan because I had some events set up that I was going to attend across the country. So from August to like October, we had a little bit of a plan, but after October, we weren't really sure what we were going to do. And but back up for a hot second, we hadn't sold our house. Literally, we were going to be leaving on Monday. I flew out on Friday to an event. We still did not have a buyer on our home. So it was full trust mode,
Here
like it's
comes
going to
faith again.
happen. Yep. Yep, like we'll figure it out. And that Saturday, I got a phone call and got two offers on our house.
Oh my
So
gosh. Don't you love
we
how it
accepted,
happens? That divine
yes,
timing is always like
yes,
at the last minute. Like, why? Why is it that way?
because I believe it's truly that way because I did the work. I made space for God to do his work. So here's the
Mm,
thing, if I hadn't sold everything, if I hadn't sold the salon, if I had been just sitting and waiting, we'll sell all of our furniture, we'll sell everything in the house once we sell the house. Like, you know what I mean? Like you're just kind of waiting. But if you start doing the work and surrendering that it's all going to work out, it does.
yes.
Literally, like it does. So as scary as it can be, it's just having that full trust and surrender that it will work out is magical. Like it's living this, I have a very abundant mindset that when you're doing the work, it'll all come to you, right?
And
Like something will happen, like it just keeps happening. I don't live in that scarcity mindset anymore. I have been there.
yeah.
It did not serve me.
Right. And you've had proof over and over again that it does work out, right? But
It
what I love
does.
is that you are clearing the space for those dreams to come in, right? Because so many times people are like, I want this, but I'm going to hold on to the past until I'm very sure or guaranteed I'm going to have that future. But it doesn't always work that way. You have to let go and make room for that new life in order for it to usher in, right? And so it's that's where the faith and the trust comes in, is we have to make moves, get rid of everything in the home in order for the home to be sold, right? Not like, oh, I'm going to wait
Yes.
until I get a buyer and then I'm going to clear it out. Yes,
Right,
I love
because we
that.
could have never left then. We could have never been
Yeah.
prepared. If we hadn't sold
Yeah.
everything, we couldn't have left on Monday when we sold the house on Saturday, right? Sunday type of thing. So it really, it's a lot of work in surrendering that. I'm not
Hmm.
going to tell you it's easy. I can tell you it's simple, right? Like it's simple to sit back and trust, but it's not easy. But because here's the thing, we always are like we have expectations and we want to guarantee,
Yes.
and we're not guaranteed anything. We're not
No.
guaranteed tomorrow. And that's really what it came down to, was we weren't going to wait until we retired. A lot of people wait till they retire to live this lifestyle that we're living, right? To take off, to sell their house, to downsize, whatever it is. They're like, well, when I retire, guess what? You're not promised that you're going to make it to retirement,
Exactly. And a lot of the things that
right?
seem guaranteed or safe or secure in our society are not really that safe, just like 2020 showed us. These jobs that seem secure weren't really secure when that happened, right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So
that's
I
that's
love
what we
that.
did, and we traveled all over. And and here's the thing I want to share with y'all too, is that even what I had expected, things that I had, you can plan as much as you want, but things still, like, it's not our schedule, right? It's his time, not our time, type of thing. And I really wasn't sure what we were gonna get into. I didn't know. I mean, I knew I wanted to travel. I kept saying these things. I'm like, I wanna be able to go to waterfalls and hike all of the time. I wanna be somewhere where we're around, dirt bikes for my son. Like, what does that look like? We wanna provide more opportunities for him. I mean, that's his dream, is to go pro and something like that. But, like, where do we fit into this lifestyle? How do we have all of this? Where does we create more opportunities for my husband to create, another business, and just things like that? What does that look like? Well, we landed someplace in South Carolina in October of last year, of 2023, and it has been home base now for almost a year. We did not have intentions of that. At first, I was a little frustrated. So here's the thing, sometimes you can get frustrated with God's plans because you're like,
Amen.
wait, this is not what I expected, right? But it's our expectations that can let us down.
Hmm.
And I really, another moment of learning to surrender. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be for me and my family right now.
Yes. And I love what you're saying because sometimes we try to set plans for ourselves, but God's plan is always better. And I won't share the whole story right now, but my family, we moved our family from Hawaii to Atlanta, Georgia, and we didn't know anyone in Atlanta. We had never been to Georgia before. And so it was a big leap of faith for us. And I remember as we were leaving Hawaii, I had a friend ask me, so what's your 5-year plan? And I was like, 5-year plan? We have a 5-day plan. Like, hope that when we get there, we close on the house. Otherwise, we have to find a new place to live. Like,
Right.
we were just winging it. But the reason I live that way is because I'm like, I don't know what's best for me, but I'm trusting that God does know. And if I create a 5-year plan and I try to be rigid and strict to it, like, for one, I'm going to close my eyes to better things that are out there for me, or I'm going to get disappointed that it's not happening in the way I want. And really, it's about just trusting that God has a plan and he's leading you to things that are even better than you had imagined, right? So that's kind of your
Yeah.
North Carolina story, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to say that we have to have a vision, right? Like, there's a reason, there's a purpose to have a vision, because I caught
Hmm.
myself for a little bit. And this is where I think it was getting a little frustrating for me, is I had kind of lost, like, what's my next step? Like, what's my
Hmm.
vision? What's my overall, right? And as soon as I refocused on that and really began to build the next vision of my life, then everything started to fall into place again. So I think it's really important to have the vision, like, have the destination kind of in mind of what
Yes.
you want, but knowing that there's 45 different ways to get there,
Yes.
right?
That's the difference between the vision and the plan, right? The vision is this is the life that I want. The plan is like I'm going to get there here, 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 here. It's like no, let's be flexible on the how, right? But hold on to the
Yeah.
vision, right?
I mean,
Yeah.
I had no idea. If you would have asked me 5 years ago, I could have never, ever even dreamt this up. I would have had no, I mean, I would have gone into all the, well, what do I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, literally, that's all you would do, because I would have not been able to tell you what it was, or what it looked like. But I realized, like, reflecting back, I was saying all of these things. Like, I was saying I want to provide this for my family. I was saying I want to have this relationship with my friends and my family. I was saying I wanted to travel. I was saying I wanted to be near things,
Mm,
and all of a sudden I'm like, okay, wait a minute. It is all happening. It just doesn't look like as close. It's just like stepping out on faith and trusting that I had a gift to bring women together, to help them step into their bigger purpose of their life and live their most abundant life, right? Like, I didn't really know that's what that looked like when I decided to host an event for the very first time, right? In a
Right.
strange city, bringing in people from literally not, I had speakers from not just even in this country, from Canada, like from different countries, like all of these things, bringing in
Ah,
that,
that's
that
huge.
vision for that. And then I'm like, wait, I want to have a retreat. I want to have something more intimate, with certain people that want to, dive deeper. And I did that. And then the next thing was like, oh my gosh, realizing I love retreats. I love coaching women. So it was designing programs around what I love,
I
right? And I
love it.
realized that's why my life is so full now, because this doesn't feel like work. I'm not working. I am literally serving for what my purpose is. What God dropped into me was to serve other people, right? And when you're doing those things in a flow, everything just feels so amazing. So, what is it the next thing, right? Like, so it was starting a 6 week coaching program, and then it was developing a 6 month coaching program where you can stay longer if you wish, but that's just the idea. It's a minimum of that. And it's creating, my next event that's going to be in 2025. I already have a retreat that's released for 2025, but then it's planning the second and the third retreats that I'm going to host in 25. So it's just the
Wow.
craziness that once you get the ball flowing and you're
Mm-hmm.
working in that, it just keeps dropping in. But
Yes.
it's because I have the vision, I didn't have the exact roadmap. I was willing to surrender which way you're telling me to get there.
And all you have to know is that next step, right? Like, what do
Yep.
I do next? And follow that inner guidance. I want to talk about this for a bit because here you went through hell to build your own salon from the ground up. And this was a huge move for your career, right? Like, I have only worked for someone else for over 20 years. I'm going to finally get my own salon. And then how much time after you started your salon did you decide to just sell and get rid of it and move away?
So I had my salon for 3 years.
3
So that's the
years.
other thing that you can crazily think about. I had made more money than I had ever made in my career. And here I am like, okay, that was fun. I just
Ready to
felt
walk
like
away.
it, the reason why, and some people ask me that, like, why would you do that? Why would you even
Mhm.
think to do that? Because my other thoughts hadn't even begun. And would I have the courage to do what I'm doing now if I wouldn't have done that first?
Mhm.
No. So it's the idea that we have to prove to ourselves, like you said, what is the next step? You only have to know
Yes.
the one step to get to the next. And the doors of opportunity just keep opening as you step into different opportunities. And I think that's so important to be aware.
Yeah, so you don't think it's a waste that you built up this business because you know you needed that process to refine you, right? And help you to elevate and grow in your confidence and your abilities. You're like, okay, I built this. It was a stepping stone to get to where you are today. It wasn't like, oh, I built this business for nothing because now I'm walking away. Or it wasn't like, I was wrong. I received the wrong intuition. I was supposed to be doing this instead. Because I think a lot of people get caught up on that when they get that inspiration to pivot, they think that what they did was a waste and that maybe they were
Oh,
they
no.
were misguided in choosing that. And I'm like, no, if it felt right at the time, it was right. And it's just a stepping stone. But like you said, maybe we thought it was going to be forever, but God was like, no, it's just going to be a few years because I have something even better for you. Right.
Right. And
Yeah,
not knowing that, like the last day that my salon was open, right? I, I was a bawling mess.
I bet.
So this wasn't like, boom, I'm done. I don't like this anymore. Right. This was my passion. This was my dream. I knew I was good at it. Was security.
Hmm.
Right. But it was listening to that next thing, that intuition of there's something more for you. There's something
Yeah.
more for you. Is there times that I know I, is there times that I regret it? Absolutely not. Right.
Mm.
But there was a grieving period of myself I had to go through to get to where I'm at today because that was an identity I owned for 24 years, Sarah.
Yes.
So it's knowing the fact that when you do decide to do a big change in your life, it's okay to grieve the old you,
Hmm.
right? But and it's finding the new path. Like, who are you? Who is Erin Renninger? I mean, I literally asked myself that question in the mirror as tears rolled down my face at times. Like, what are you doing? I'm not saying that fear doesn't creep in, right? Like, fear creeps in, but now I know if I just go back into full alignment, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, if I go back into that alignment, then I feel good.
Yes.
If I start feeling fear creeping up, I know one of those pillars is out of alignment.
Mhm.
So it's time to look in the mirror and reflect, what is the missing part right now?
And having that self-awareness, right?
Yes.
Coming back to you. And I love what you said
Yes.
that you had to re-identify yourself because we're so used to identifying ourselves by what we do. And I think that's why it makes it so hard for us to pivot because it's like, this is who I am. And it's really just an aspect of who we are. Our identities
It's
are
a piece
so
of who
much
you
more.
are.
Yeah, it's just a piece. But I love what you also said about having a grieving process, even though you don't regret it, even though you knew it was right all along the way, it doesn't mean that you're not going to grieve it, right? And I bet it was fulfilling for you to help make these women beautiful and that you loved your clients and you loved talking with them and getting to know them, right? Like on this level, it's like that's a grieving process to let go of that. But look at
They
how
were
you are,
family.
yeah, right?
Like, these are women and men that I spent 20 plus years with, some of them, right?
Wow.
But it was the
Yeah.
idea, and I saw them every 3 to 6 weeks. Like, I had watched children be born, to children graduating, to children,
Wow.
putting them through prom, all of these things, to doing their hair for their weddings. So
Wow.
those are the things, like, I just want you to know you are really a part of your hairstylist's life, right? Like, just so you know, I want you to hug your hairstylist next time that you see her, because you share a lot of things with your hairstylist,
Mhm.
and they are
Yeah.
part of you. And so that was really hard. I mean, I walked away from I closed my salon, and I literally left within 2 weeks of closing my salon. So I left my
Wow.
hometown. I had grown up in this. I was 41 years old when I left.
And you
Right?
had lived
No, I
there
might
your
have
whole
just turned
life?
42. I might have just turned 42. Anyways, I was in
But you
my
had lived
40s.
there your
I
whole
had
life.
lived there my entire life. My husband and I started dating when I was in high school. Like, we raised all of our children there. Like, it was just like he was from there. So it was totally stepping out on faith
Mhm.
and knowing, like, I am meant to see more. So I like how you shared, like, you went to Atlanta and knew no one, right? So we started traveling around. We landed at this training facility, motocross training facility in South Carolina, that we knew no one. Right? We didn't come here because we knew someone. We came here because we heard about this facility and things like that. And now the family that I've created with the people that come here is amazing. But so many times, and I've met so many cool people, and, like, I love getting to know people's stories, right? Like, we could sit for hours and, like,
Right.
Sarah, tell me more of your story, right? Because I want to know. I love getting to know people. And that has been another thing that has been so beautiful, to meet people from different cultures, different backgrounds. Now, some of these people have lived here their whole entire life. And now I've made friends with another woman that's here, that's from California, and she's out here with her children. Her husband's working in California to
Wow.
make this happen. Like, this is a lifestyle. Motocross is a
Wow.
lifestyle. When you want your child to do something with it, it is a lifestyle that you go all in, and that's what we've done. But
I
it's just so fun
I
meeting
love
people.
that you are not only you and your husband are chasing your own dreams, but you are prioritizing your children's dreams in that like how many parents are willing to sell their home and go live in a motor home and travel so that your kid can do motocross all their like I think that's incredible and that is the tradition that you're carrying on is that we can do things however we want. There's no societal rules. It's just like follow your heart and what you're passionate about. I think that's incredible that you're passing that down. But another thing I wanted to note is that as a hairstylist, you said you love hearing people's stories. And then I think that's a gift that when you're doing hair, you're spending hours with someone, like you have conversations, you get to know them on a deep level. And I think that's something that you were always gifted with and that you were passionate about. And what you didn't realize is that there are other ways that you can do that. And so you're continuing that same passion and gift just in different modalities, right? As you're building new communities in as you're traveling to new places, and then in your coaching business, that these clients are now becoming like family as you hear their stories and work with them and connect with them on a different level. So it's like the gifts that we use from where we're at, they're going to be carried on, and they're going to, the things that we love about it, we can still enjoy just in different ways, right?
Just to touch base on that, like, so this is where I kept feeling this pull in the salon, right? Like, I was talking to people, and like, you would have some kind of the same conversations as you would with coaching, but then I would leave, and and then they would come back. It would be the same thing because that's not how they took it, right? Like, it was,
Mhm.
they were really there to get their hair done. And watching my coaching clients now that I've been doing this for almost a year, find the success and watching them bloom. And like, I was on a podcast the other day with one of my old clients that, I was the first person that she shared with opening, having her own podcast. And now she's doing it, right? And I have other women who are putting on, women's events and having, helping others. It's the ripple effect that happens. So
Yes.
that's a difference from doing their hair, having conversations, and actually now in coaching is that
Mhm.
I am now able to give them the tangible tools to make their dreams come true. They're just telling me their dreams when I was doing their hair, but now it's like coaching them how to do it and how to go through it because I've been through so much. I've invested so much in learning myself and watching them. I can't even, it's like I don't know, like birthing a baby every time
Yes.
without the pain, right? Like
Without the
without the
pain.
pain, but like just
So
the pride
fulfilling.
that you have when you see these women doing these things and
Yes.
dreaming and becoming their most unapologetic self. When you quit apologizing to yourself, that's what really it stands for me is stop playing small with your life.
Mhm.
Stop trying to keep up with the Joneses. Who even are the Joneses, right? It's when you really started doing life for you
Mhm.
and taking care of yourself, everybody else gets to reap all of the benefits from that as well. And so
Yes.
many women struggle with that. They're like, I want to take care of everybody else first, and then I'll take care of me. When they actually can take care of everyone else so much better when they take care of themselves
Yeah.
first.
It reminds me of that Marianne Williamson quote that as we are liberated from our own fears, our presence automatically liberates others. That you go
Yes,
and live your best life, your highest self, your unapologetic self. And that is like a ripple effect. It's going to influence others to do the same, right? I love that.
yes.
It's so empowering. I want to hear more about your retreats because I know you have another one coming up. Can you tell me more about like who it's for and what exactly happens in these retreats?
So every retreat is a little different. So it's depending on what we're doing, but the next one, like we've gone into some really deep healing ones, was my first one that I did. I really feel the room, right? It's for any woman, though. This is what they are. They are for any women just curious about their own life. Like, what is it that you want? What is it that needs to be healed? What is it that needs more alignment in it, right? It really comes down to self care. When we come to these retreats, you're getting in a room with like minded, but like hearted women, right? We can all have different minds because that's where our strengths come from. When I know more about this, you know more about this, and then we come together and collaborate. So it's just getting that community together, and at every retreat, we dive into self care, meaning you get a massage, you get a custom intuitive massage done for you,
Ooh.
right? Not just like basic works, like here you go. I have massage therapists that come in that are the masters in their fields. We get into, I have a yoga instructor and meditation specialist that comes in, and really you get to tune inward is the best way I would describe it. So what you need is what you will get out of it. And then I'm very adventurous. So there's always going to be a challenge or an adventure, something stepping out of your comfort zone to try something new, to be playful. That's like actually at my last retreat, that was the best thing that came up. Women forget to be playful. I had
That's so
women
true.
jumping. We actually went hiking in the rain, right? Most
Yes, I
of the
love
time, if
it.
it was raining, would you have not been like, never mind, we're not going to do that today?
Mhm.
Right? Most people be like, never mind, it's crappy, I'm not going to go. Well, we're going. It was the most magical, rainy hike we have ever done to watch all of these women, 12 women, hike together and jump in mud puddles. Right? When was the last time, Sarah, that you jumped both feet into a mud puddle
I love
and
it.
laughed?
I
right?
love
Like
it.
it's the idea of discovering what is it that you truly want. We get
Mhm.
so caught up in life as moms, as wives, as friends, as, siblings, as daughters, as whatever it may be, as co-workers, whatever, bosses, entrepreneurs. We get caught up in all of these titles. But what is the real reflection of who you are?
Yeah.
And this gives you at the retreats these times to really reflect on what it is that's been put on your heart,
I
right?
love
Where
it.
is it in your alignment that you may be feeling a little off?
I
And
love it.
so
That sounds amazing.
my next one coming up in January is titled Design and Align. So it's connected right into, you've heard Sarah and I talk about the Align retreat. That's what pivot was a pivotal point in my life, was going with Brooke Hemingway, and she hosts these events every year. So this year's retreat is actually tied to the Align conference. It's 3 days prior to Align, and you will actually stay at the retreat house during the retreat and during the Align conference. It's very close to the Align conference venue. So that's included. There's no extra cost for staying those 4 extra days, which is a
That's
fabulous.
incredible.
It
Yeah.
is incredible. I was able to swing that.
Yes.
So, anyways, it's really about designing your life for 2025 and 26 and 27 and all of these things moving forward. Are you actually designing your life? The question is, or are you letting it be designed by other people
Yeah, just going on auto default
on
mode, right?
autopilot? Yep.
Autopilot default mode, not really being intentional about how do I want my life to look, right? I love that it's
Hmm.
in January because that's a time when people really reset and reflect. And if you have not been to Align, we both highly recommend Align. It changed both of our lives, right? And
Yes.
Brooke's events are incredible. And so, but I love that you've attached your retreat to it because at Align, it's like go, 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 go. Like anyone who knows Brooke, she has some energy. And I was like, I'm exhausted. I was filled to the top with inspiration and motivation and all the things, but it was a go, go, go time. And there was a lot of breakthroughs and downloads. But I love that the retreat is beforehand because when you step away from life and your family and you go to one of these events, it's just like you're just like taken out of the rat race and then plopped into this, and you kind of have to recalibrate, and then but you're going the whole time. So I love that there's this buffer where you can retreat and really get in touch with yourself and start to conceptualize what it is that I really want, so that when you go to Align, you already have these intentions set, so that when you receive the downloads, it's just going to be so much more impactful. That's incredible.
It's like priming you to go to an event. So here's the thing is, I've been to a lot of events, and like Sarah just described it perfectly. You are so full, you are so downloaded, but you are just like plopped out of your, like picked out of your life, right? And plopped
Mhm.
into these events, and you're like, it is like a fire hose coming at you with information and downloads, and all of these things are incredible. But this is my vision, to have these women come so you are more prepared for the downloads that you're going to get
Mhm.
emotionally, physically, like spiritually, all of these things. Are you actually prepping for it? Because sometimes we go to these events and I feel like it's the fire hose on you,
Yes.
and at first you either are not absorbing any of it because you're still trying to dig through your own stuff, right? Like the misalignment that you may have, whether it's lack of sleep, whether it's lack of, you know, taking a hot bath, whether it's lack of just turning inward, but it's priming you for that. So I feel like this is what's going to happen is when we get there. So when you get to Align, you're going to be like this dry sponge that's ready to take
Mhm.
it all in, right? You're
100.
not going to be
Yes.
this soaking wet sponge already that can't, obtain any more information or feel like what it even is happening because you're
Mhm.
trying to get all of it figured out at once. So this was my vision, to bring these women together to really be prepared to take it all in and
Yeah.
be relaxed and rested and ready to go, instead of coming in on a late flight and being exhausted and then trying to
Right.
go and all of these things.
Right.
So
I
yes,
love it.
but you can find me. I'm
Mhm.
on all social media platforms as Erin Renninger, so it's super simple like that. And I'm sure she'll drop it in the show notes for y'all, the link for the retreat, but everything is on erinrenningercoaching.com. All of my coaching stuff is there, and my event is right on that page under events, under retreats, but it is erinrenningercoaching.com/design. is the next retreat that's in January in Scottsdale, Arizona. So I would love to have you. If
Awesome.
you have questions, please reach out to me. I would love to have a conversation to see if it's a right fit for you or not.
Thank you so much, Erin. Thank you for sharing your message. Definitely look her up and check out her retreats. And she has do you have other programs as well aside from your retreats?
Yes, I have coaching programs open right now. Yep, depending on when this releases, I'm having another coaching program open late October. So we'll
Awesome.
see. And then I have some more coming in January. So stay tuned.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Erin.
You're welcome.